And so it was a player that I always, had regretted not picking him up and at the same time as Stewie, because in hindsight, it would have been perfect because with Freakazoid exiting the team, but I just didn't know. I definitely was pinging TSM, asking them, hey, how are things going with Autimatic? If you ever want to sell that player to me, I'm ready to buy. And when TSM actually said, hey, I think we might be going another direction, like, are you still interested? I just dove on it.
I was born in San Diego, and I was raised in a small town in San Diego called Mira Mesa. I didn't really do anything outside that much. I mainly stayed inside and played games all day. Occasionally I'll play like basketball. I was pretty gifted in basketball. I lived with my mom, my dad, and my little sister. No, my parents hated when I was playing games. They always wanted me to like play basketball instead, or like read a book. Yeah. But I would never do that. Well, I mean, I would play basketball, and I was pretty like dedicated to it at one point, but I just realized that I could be so good at Counter-Strike, so who needs basketball? My mom and my dad are both really hardworking. My mom like works, I think like 12-hour days for like the last 10 years or something. I would only see her for like a couple hours of the day, like at the end of the day normally. And by then I had like CS practice with my team, so I gotta pick CS practice over my mom.
Yeah. What about your pops? How's your relationship with your dad?
He's like a businessman, and he didn't really go to school or anything, but he learned how to open up his own businesses, and now he's doing pretty well for himself. Back then, he would like drive me to all of my basketball practices, and like he would drive me to all the camps and all my games and stuff. So I was pretty close to my dad. And now it's like kind of similar, where he always watches my matches and like he'll call me after my matches and stuff.
Yes, we are very proud of him, and he gets to do what he loves to do. That's great, man.
Oh, look at that! Look at what Timothy did. I just stayed right here, and then I have to listen to everything.
As a kid, I was like pretty shy, I guess, unless like I got really comfortable with like someone, then I would be more open. But for the most part, I was like shy, and I just like kind of did my own thing.
Not too much to say. He's a pretty chill guy, honestly. I mean, he's never like over the top about things. He's always pretty like low key, just like, kind of his words kind of just flow. He loves to be stylish. The hair is always on point. I know that he likes to eat a lot of food. That's great. I like eating a lot of food too, so we share that in common.
You bonded. When did you first get into gaming? How young?
Like 7, 8 years old was when I first saw Counter-Strike 1.6. But I didn't actually start off with Counter-Strike. I played like Brood War for a really long time, or like StarCraft Brood War for a really long time, and then I got into Counter-Strike after that. Well, none of my friends in like high school or like middle school or anything, none of them like played PC games. They only played console games, so I didn't really play with them at all. And my older cousin, by the time I started actually playing, he didn't want to play with me because he thought he was so much better. I don't know, I think I went through phases. Like in 6th grade or whatever, I was really into like skateboarding. So I was really into skating and like playing basketball, and I was really active. And like 7th grade and 8th grade, then I started playing more CS, and I got invited in 8th grade. And then when I got into high school, I would like play CS for a year, quit, and like play basketball for a year, quit, and then go back to CS. And I just didn't really it wasn't really consistent to me, and I was kind of always conflicted on like what I actually wanted to do. It just never really took over until I got into college. I mean, when I was committed to school, I was decent, but when I wasn't, it was terrible. I don't know, it's like in high school, the people that you miss the most aren't like your best friends or whatever. It's like the people that you like saw in class and like would talk to only in class, but then outside of class you don't get to see them anymore. And those are like the people that I really miss. And then like the people that were in my like circle of friends, I still talk to them. I was always competitive whenever I played, because I hate like doing something and then not trying to be the best at it, or like not being good at it. So I think I really took it seriously in like 8th grade, I'd say. 8th grade was the first year I started playing CS Source like competitively, and I started in Open at like the start of my 8th grade year, and then I ended in Invite at the end of it. So yeah.
And how old were you when you went to your first tournament?
I was like 15 or something.
15 for CS Source.
Maybe 14
And actually, tell us a little about that first tournament you went to. It was the ESCA, right?
Yeah, so at ESCA LAN, we went there and I was so excited that I didn't sleep for like 2 days. And then when we actually played the matches, I was terrible.
Yeah.
But then after the matches, I saw you there. And then at the time, I was a big fan, not anymore though. And
You're still a massive fan. I have him as a signature on his wall. Picture of me.
But yeah, my in-game leader, Sasquatch, he like went up to you or went up to Jordan and was like, yeah, this kid's a huge fan of you. And then that's when we
Did I give you some inspiring words or anything?
No, not at all.
What did I say?
You just said, hey, what's up? I was like, yo, dude, this is crazy.
But you know, it was cool. Tim's dad was there. So I know he might, I don't know if you thought it was embarrassing at the time, but I actually thought it was really cool because I think it's cool that his dad was involved and supportive and helping Tim go to the LAN. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool too. At the time, I thought it was embarrassing, but now.
Yeah, looking back,
at
it's
it.
cool. He's
Yeah.
looking it up. A lot of parents didn't do that. Tell us your history a little bit with CSGO from, you know, non-pro to becoming a pro in the game.
As soon as I started playing, I was an invite. Like I didn't go through like open or main or anything like that.
Due to your source days?
Yeah, well, kinda. So I took a break for like the last 2 seasons of Source, and I was like focusing on school. And then when CSGO came out, I think like 6 months after it came out, I decided like, I actually texted my old leader, Danny Jones, who was like, he was the first person to like pick me up and like give me a chance. And I thought he was like the smartest guy I've ever met. And I still think that he's like a super innovative guy. But I texted him and I asked him like, yo, do you want to make a team for CSGO? And then he said, yeah. And then I bought a new computer the same day.
Awesome.
And yeah, so then we started playing and somebody posted on the forums, this team called We Are Lions, they posted on the forums. They were an invite team, but they were like kind of mediocre.
I actually remember that tag that you had, yeah.
Yeah, and they posted on the forums and we knew the guys from Source, so we just PM'd them. We played with them for a bit. Well, at first it was just me that tried out for them. So after I tried out for them and they wanted me, I said, yeah, I'm not gonna join without Danny Jones.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, we'll pick up Danny Jones. And then we played for a little bit, and when the game first came out, I actually thought that like, I was like an elite level player. Like, I thought I was so good, but.
From playing, what were you playing that made you feel this way?
I was just playing like 10-mans against the other top players, and I just felt like this is so easy. Like, it shouldn't be this easy for me, but it was. So after I decided that I wanted to come back, and I started playing in these 10-mans. At first, in the 10-mans, I was like really like nervous because these are like some, like I was playing with like Swag, and like Swag at the time, he was like a legend in my eyes, you know, like he's like my age, but he's done so much more than me in the game. And I was like playing against him in these 10-mans, and I was playing against like Steel and Days, who were like big names in Source. And yeah, I just remember like doing really well in every single game, and I was just like, I don't know, I just thought that I was really good. And then over time though, like as people get better, if you don't get better with them, then you fall off kind of. So after like the first season, I started feeling like I was falling off because I wasn't like learning anymore. So after that, I decided to quit and go to college.
Obviously it didn't feel right because you wanted to come back to the game. So what urged you to get back into CSGO after you went to college? Because you went for a year, right?
I was watching some LAN and I was like, man, this is crazy. Like,
Getting big.
yeah, whenever I watch a LAN, I just get so motivated to play. So yeah, after watching that LAN and like seeing like, I think I was watching Brax, I was like, dude, this is like so sick. He's a legend, right? So after I saw that, I just wanted to be like him almost, and I wanted to compete again. So I started playing again in college. I was playing for a team called Denial, and we later got picked up by Nylum.
Yep.
And I just remember thinking like, I can't focus on school right now. Like the whole, like whenever I was in class or whatever, I would only think about CS and I wouldn't be able to pay attention. So I knew that like there's no way that I could do well in both. So I just thought that it would be better to excel in one area and then like put the other one on hold. And obviously I'm not gonna put CS on hold because no one knows like how long CS is gonna be around or whatever. So I just decided to take a break from college and then give CS a shot. I don't remember how they approached this. I think they just talked to Valens, another one of my in-game leaders. But yeah, they just approached him, and then our first roster was me, him, Flowsick, Professor Chaos, and Sanks. And on that roster, I don't think there's a lot of like raw skill, but we had really good teamwork. Like Professor Chaos, Flowsick, and Valens were kind of like the support players, and they kind of just like did anything and everything to ensure that me and Sanks would like be able to open up rounds for them. And so I didn't think like the skill ceiling was that high for that team because it's like heavily dependent on two players. But at the same time, I learned that like that those players who like support you are really important to your team, and they're probably more important than the players getting the frags. Something you guys might have not known is that Jordan actually took me to my first CSGO LAN ever. Well, I mean, it wasn't like a huge LAN or anything, but it was like, first LAN ever.
We won it.
Yeah, we took home like $2,000.
Or something, yeah, 1,500.
And it was me, you, Mo, Freakazoid, and Clown. That's a sick lineup.
That's a fun LAN team for
Yeah.
sure. That was a funny one.
Yeah. And that actually was held at the college that I ended up going to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when we were there, I was just like looking around the campus, and I was like, wow, this campus looks pretty nice. And when I started doing college applications, I was like, this name looks familiar.
Oh yeah.
And then I just like signed up, and I ended up going there.
Yeah, that was funny. That was actually hilarious. I thought about that one day. I was like, Tim, we're on the same team. And I remember it was so funny because we were having so much fun. You played well, but I remember you were really focused. And like Mo and Clown, I was like, how is this kid focused right now? It's like the most chaotic environment ever, playing with me, Ryan, Mo, and
I remember the night before the LAN, everyone except for you and me went to get like Taco Bell or something. And I stayed back and I was DMing. And then you were watching me DM, and I was like, dude, I'm so nervous right now.
That's hilarious. I was watching you DM. And then I remember they came home, and I think like Mo was carrying Ryan into the room when they came home. I remember that somehow.
Yeah.
And then that was so funny. And then we all like fell asleep on couches and like next to each other and stuff. And I think I might have slept in a bed with you, Tim.
I slept in the bed with Mo, but then after the LAN, I think we played till like 5 a.m. or something. Yeah. After the LAN, I streamed for about 2 hours, and then we fell asleep in the same bed.
You streamed at Mo's house or at the LAN?
Yeah, I don't know, at Clown's house.
At Clown's house, yeah. Oh yeah, at his house. And then what was the first LAN you beat me at? What was that? What lineup?
USTA LAN.
Was that with Nihilum or Denial?
Nihilum. But yeah, with the first lineup.
What was the reaction from your family when you told them your plans or when you wanted to leave school?
They were not supportive of it at all because at the time the salary was like very like small. Like it wasn't anything that you could live off of.
Yeah, it's like all right for a college student. Right?
Yeah. And so yeah, I called my mom and I said like, I just told her that I wasn't doing well in school because I was really focused on playing this game, and that I wanted to take some time off of school to just focus and try to become the best. And then my mom was like, she didn't understand that I was already kind of at the top, you know, like I was playing with like all the other top players.
I thought you were just having fun playing a game.
Yeah, so she like told me like, every kid thinks that they can be good at a game, but they can't. And she kind of like was trying to tell me that, you know, you're wasting your time because you're not going to be good at the game. And I wasn't mad or anything at her when she told me that because I understood that she didn't understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just kind of told her like, I'm going to make this decision, and if you don't support me, then that's fine. If you do support me, then that's great, but I'm still going to do it because this is something I really want to do. I mean, they've been supportive ever since. So.
Yeah.
I just think communicating properly is like really important when you're talking to your parents. Well, when I was like in middle school or like early high school, I didn't know how to communicate to my parents, and I would kind of just like get mad at them if they didn't let me play, or like, you know, just kind of, I was just kind of immature when I was like dealing with them. But then when I started explaining to them why I wanted to do, you know, whatever it was, and like the reasons why it could be beneficial to me in the future, they started like understanding it more. So that's probably like my biggest tips. Like any young player who, you know, has problems with his parents, is just to communicate well.
Yeah, good advice.
Well, after Nihilum, I was on Complexity, and on Complexity, I mean, we were like decent, but I felt like we weren't anywhere near the top. And so I had decided to leave that team because I felt like I didn't see like the hunger, you know? So after that, there was a brief period where I tried out for you guys, and at the same time, TSM was asking me to make a team. And at the time, I really wanted to play with Corey as well. So
And Valens, right? You had the whole...
Yeah, and Valens. So I kind of just took the TSM offer like instantly and decided to make a team with Corey and with Valens coaching. We had like younger players, so I would have to like communicate in a better way for them to learn. So then that helped me, and I think that's like a skill that is really important to have. And on top of that, I just learned to appreciate, because I was in the role that was like, that didn't get a lot of recognition or whatever, just because I was doing like what was needed. So I learned to appreciate anyone on my team that was doing that role for me. So like, for instance, on this team, it would be like you, Tyler, Mike, you know, like I appreciate what you guys do for the team like more than you guys could know, because I used to do that, and I used to like kind of have, not, I wouldn't say resentment, but I just wish that like, you know, people would at least realize what I was doing for the team, right?
Yeah,
So,
a lot of the community doesn't realize what makes players get good plays or get good kills. There's a lot that goes into setting up the round.
yeah, it's not only about the player getting the kills, it's like the whole team is like setting that player up,
Yeah.
for the most part.
During your time with TSM, you guys were doing pretty well. You beat us at ECS, but obviously you weren't happy. You joined our team. Talk us through a little bit about your realization of that and what kind of connected you to us.
At the time, I really wanted to play with Stewie because not a lot of people know this, but I wanted to make a team with him on TSM, but then he ended up joining you guys instead. So yeah, I was like really good friends with him, and I played with you at a LAN before, and like I also tried out for you guys, and I knew that I liked your team, and I felt like you guys liked me as a player as well. So when I was having, you know, problems with TSM, I knew that if I was on your team, that we could, you know, probably win a championship.
That was an interesting dialogue, because you beat us at LAN. This had happened before when we tried to recruit you, and I remember it was like, we didn't know what we wanted to do exactly, and Slemmy wasn't sure if he was going to coach, and then we didn't even really talk to each other. It was like this weird trickle through the org. It was like, hey, Tim used to want to play with us. How's he doing on the team? And then we found out that you weren't 100% content. So,
yeah.
What was your first impression when you actually got to scrim with us for the first time? Because you talked to Stu, you talked to me, and it was kind of all over the place. But then when you first got to join our team and play with us, what was your first impressions of the team?
I just thought that the team was like really chill and like laid back, and it was just like really cool to see how all of you guys, like all you cared about was wanting to win. And a lot of times when players get like a lot of recognition, or like when players are well known, they're often well known because like they like want to get a lot of kills, or like, you know, they try their best to get a lot of kills, so
Flashy plays.
yeah, so they end up getting well known. But on this team, I felt like people are just, you know, famous because they're just like overall just good players.
Played
like
for a while.
yeah, and that was like the biggest thing, is like transitioning to this team, just like seeing you, Mike, Stu, and Tyler, like all you guys just like want to win, you know? So you'll do anything for the team as long as it ends up with us getting the win.
Everyone wants to have the glory, everyone wants to be in the highlight video. And Autimatic, he seems very, very happy and very content to just be able to do his job and perform it to a high level. Very versatile player. He's not going to put up all the numbers, but he does his job and he does it so well. A little bit more passive player than what Cloud9 is necessarily used to. But he can also, he spent time as an opper, so he's very versatile in the different things he can bring to this team. And I think they saw him as kind of like the Swiss Army knife, where he was going to plug all the holes, all the gaps that they were missing as a team already.
Well, out of game, I didn't really have any expectations because I knew that I'd be like pretty cool with you and Stu just because we've like known each other for a while. And then Mike and Tyler, Tyler I didn't expect to be this funny. Like Tyler's like a really funny guy. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
But I knew that he was like really chill, and then I knew Mikey was really chill. So yeah, I didn't really have any expectations outside of that.
And then
but then in game, I expected us to eventually be like top team, but I didn't know that like we would do so well so early.
Yeah.
So.
EPL S4, baby.
Obviously, I was really happy to be playing for like a big org and everything. But for the most part, what I was happiest about was to be able to play on like a really good team.
So obviously on the road, a lot of memories get made, and it's hard to remember everything, but does anything immediately pop in your mind as some memorable moments so far with the team?
I mean, obviously when we won,
Yeah.
that was probably the most memorable moment I've had ever in like CS.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, there was one moment where I won like a 1v3, and then like you came up and like choked me, and that was.
I took my headset off.
I definitely remember that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Well, every time this is like obviously when I'm playing, but I sit next to Tyler, and every time I win a clutch, and he'll like tap me on the shoulder, and that just feels so good.
Just because Tyler doesn't express it.
Yeah, he never like shows any like emotions when we're playing, so for him to like, just give me a nice little tap on the shoulder,
Yeah.
I feel really good.
Yeah, the team camaraderie. No, it is funny.
What does CSGO mean to me?
Yeah,
Wow,
okay.
that's a deep question. That's
Yeah.
like, what is the meaning of life? Well, other than CSGO just being like a passion of mine and me really wanting to play it, I also look at it as like school almost, like somewhere you go to like learn a lot of skills, right? So in CS, since you're working with like 4 other players, you have to learn how to work with them, you have to learn how to like communicate with them, and like how to overlook, minor flaws that, a person might have. And on top of that, you have to just put in a lot of work, and it really develops your work ethic, similar to like what school does, where you have to communicate with your teachers, your peers, you have to put in work to, know the material and everything. So I kind of view it as just somewhere that I can come to learn, skills, somewhere that I can come to learn skills that can be applied to anything in life. The best players are, for one, reflective, and like I think that's like a huge
Look at their mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's a huge skill outside of like, well, for one, you just have to have skill, right? You have to have like the talent to be good, but aside from the talent, you have to have like the mentality to get better, and like you have to be self-reflective. And then on top of that, I think you have to know how to learn, right? And you have to know how you learn most effectively. And I think those are like qualities that you can't see, but if you have them, then it's like just a matter of time until you make it to the top.
Find some kind of success.
Yeah.
Obviously, EPL S4 was the first time an NA team's won. It's the first time our team's won. It's a big moment for all of us. And you were awarded the MVP award, which we were all stoked as teammates for you, but obviously we know you don't always enjoy the spotlight. So how was it for you? How did you like receiving that award?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot, obviously, but at the same time, I just don't think it matters who's like I don't even think that's something that you can measure, the most valuable player on a team.
Statistically, right? You have
statistically, but that's like from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking out, it's like way different, It's like, I don't know, Stu did so much work like anti-stratting and like coming up with strats, and he puts in a lot of time watching VODs, and I know you do the same. And
everyone has their role, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like every role is like important, and if like one of us were to stop doing our job, I feel like our results would go down really fast.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I just think that like you can't say who's like the most valuable player,
Rock on, baby.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, it's awesome.